In this lecture, we learn that there is much more going on during face-to-face communication than just the exchange of words. Our everyday model of communication as simply talking and influencing others with our words is too simplistic. In reality, interpersonal communication is a complex process involving verbal and nonverbal messages, our relationships, and our sense of self. Key points from the lecture. 1. We talk constantly to fulfill basic needs, to discover ourselves, build relationships, influence others, and understand the world so we can survive. In every conversation, we want to know what's going on, what will happen next, and how we are being treated. 2. Communication involves a sender encoding a verbal message and sending it via speech and body language to a receiver who decodes it. But this process is complicated by different types of noise that can interfere with the intended meaning, external distractions, poor word choices by the sender, and the receiver's own thoughts and biases. 3. Words don't have fixed meanings. The sender and receiver may interpret the message differently based on their own experiences. Messages operate at two levels simultaneously, the topic being discussed and the relationship between the people. 4. While talking, people are constantly presenting aspects of themselves and responding to the other person's self-presentation. Each person has multiple self-images in their head during a conversation. 5. Some key truths about face-to-face communication. You can't not communicate. All behavior sends a message. Communication always combines verbal and nonverbal elements which can reinforce or contradict each other. It's always about both the topic and the relationship between the people. People interpret interactions differently to make themselves look good. 6. Our cultural traditions emphasize communication as simply using the right words to influence others, like in rhetoric and debating. We see conversation as a kind of verbal game, like tennis, of batting words back and forth to win points and get what we want. 7. Surveys show that while most people are very comfortable communicating, far fewer feel they are very effective, especially in important relationships. People recognize poor communication is a major reason for breakdowns in marriages and other relationships. 8. However, rather than examine our own role in communication problems, we tend to blame the other person. Psychologically, we are prone to a self-serving bias that makes us see ourselves as better communicators than average. When miscommunication happens, we assume it's the other person's fault for not understanding our clear message. 9. To become better communicators, we need to move beyond this overly simplistic view of talk as just exchanging words. We need to recognize the complex verbal and nonverbal, conscious and unconscious elements involved in face-to-face communication. By understanding what's really going on beneath the surface, we can communicate more effectively, especially in challenging situations involving disagreements and misunderstandings. The main takeaway is that interpersonal communication is far more complex than our everyday assumptions suggest. By studying the psychological dynamics and gaining more self-awareness of what's really happening when we talk, we can learn to express ourselves more clearly and listen better to others. This will allow us to gather the information we need to manage difficult conversations and relationships more effectively.